What if I told you that fights actually are way more important than what they seem? While on the surface, fights are used just to attract viewers with insane visuals and beautiful choreography. But if we look deeper, maybe they have more meaning behind them than at first glance. And maybe, you could argue, they're probably the most important thing in the show. Minor spoilers for these shows. So what actually is the purpose of fighting in anime? Well, typically is used for a solution of conflicts, whether that be a minor squabble, a duel between teammates, or a glorious ending to a beautiful series. But if done right, fighting can be used more than just a visually appealing form of storytelling. In Windbreaker, the character Umemiya explains fighting as such. Fists have their own language. They have the power to convey certain things. Fighting has been around longer than words, so it's great at primitive communication. It does a good job of conveying primitive ideas. What I'm saying is, it's great at communicating love and hate. Meaning that fighting itself is the most simple way to convey emotions between two sides. The climactic fight between the good and the bad guy serves more than just a physical final battle, but often are also used as the climax between their philosophical and moral journeys. And a series that does these kind of battles to absolute perfection is One Piece. Now I know the people that are going to watch this video might leave a comment that, why didn't you pick this fight, or why did you pick this fight? There's an endless list of these fights littered throughout the show and the manga. From Whitebeard to Marineford fighting for what he believes is his own family, or even at the very beginning of the story, where the full crew at the time fought the strongest pirate in the East Blue just in order to avenge Nami, who they just met, who went through years of pain and suffering in order to pay off a debt to Arlong to keep her home village alive. To even the most recent climactic fight against Kaido, where Luffy fought this giant unbeatable monster of a man. In order to free the country he enslaved and turned into a hellscape for his drug empire. But in my opinion, when it comes to the best battle of morality in One Piece, absolutely nothing, in my opinion, will top Luffy versus Doflamingo. Now, I could go on and on about how despicable and diabolical Doflamingo is, but that would make this video honestly like 3 hours long. So instead, I'm going to recommend watching this video that CJ DeChamp did on him. It's entertaining, and it kind of gives you a better understanding of Dofi as a character, and it just shows you how menacing and how terrible this guy can be. Anyways, the battle between Luffy and Doflamingo and Dressrosa goes beyond just physical combat, but a battle between their opposing views on freedom, leadership, and the nature of power. Luffy, with his die-hard belief in freedom, embodies the idea that true leadership comes from mutual respect and trust. His dreams of becoming the Pirate King symbolizes not just freedom for himself, but the freedom of others as well, as he consistently stands against oppression and tyranny. To him, being a leader is having equality and a shared purpose among his crew and allies, which is completely different from Doflamingo. As a former celestial dragon and a tyrant, he believes in absolute control and manipulation as the essence of power. His rule over Dressrosa is marked by fear, deception, and exploiting others, perfectly showing his belief that power only exists just to subjugate and dominate. He manipulates people's lives for his own amusement and maintains control through force and fear, creating a facade of peace and prosperity. While below the surface, he hides the suffering he's actually causing. While Luffy represents a hopeful and optimistic view of power as a force for good, one that should be used to protect and uplift others, Doflamingo represents the corruption and destructiveness of unchecked power. The battle between them is not just about defeating a villain and saving the day, but about dismantling a system of oppression and restoring justice and freedom to the people of Dressrosa. While showing Luffy's growth as a leader, it proves that true strength lies not just in physical prowess, but in the courage to fight for what is right and the ability to inspire others to do the same. And the importance of standing against tyranny and fighting for a world where freedom and justice will prevail. While usually in terms of the grand scheme of the story, the fights we usually see show the effects and outcomes of the mass majority. But to these characters, and sometimes the viewer, the stakes are often deeply personal, involving loved ones, cherished ideals, or the character's own sense of self. The outcomes of these battles can lead to absolute tragedy, despair, or renewed resolve, and more often than not, impacting the character's emotional and psychological mindset. Like in Naruto, the battle between Naruto and Pain is filled with emotional weight, representing a clash of mindsets with painful upbringings and personal loss. While arguably the best pure combat in Naruto as a whole, it's also about Naruto's struggle to understand and empathize with Pain's tragic past and twisted vision of peace. It serves as a moment of relief for both characters, allowing them to tackle with emotional and moral questions that have been central to the story leading up to this. Again, I could honestly go on and on for hours about how important this fight is for Naruto and the anime as a whole, but if you want a deeper dive into Pain and how important his character and ideals are to the whole series, check out our vid we did on villains. It's pretty sick actually. Link in the description. In stories like Berserk, Intense fights are used as pivotal moments that drive the character's development and explore their mental state. These fights take away anything he tries to hide, bringing to light the true nature and inner conflicts of Guts. This approach gives viewers a deeper understanding of the character's motivations, fears, and desires. Guts' battles are integral to his personal journey. Guts, as a character, is shaped by a traumatic past with a curse that forces him to constantly battle monsters, and each fight pushes him to confront the trauma head-on, as he is constantly reminded of his past and failures, and it's not even just the past he has to confront in these battles. Every fight is also a mirror for his internal struggles, like his relentless pursuit of vengeance, his quest for identity, and his desire for redemption. For Guts, each fight is a learning experience. The physical danger and emotional intensity of these battles force him to deal with his inner demons, questioning what it means to be human amidst the chaos and the brutality of his world. This psychological dimension adds a crazy amount of layers to his character, revealing a multi-faced individual who is constantly evolving. The technique of using battles as a means of character exploration is so effective, because it places the characters in situations of extreme stress and vulnerability. In these moments, characters reveal aspects of themselves that are otherwise hidden, providing a deeper look into their true selves. This not only makes the story way more enjoyable, but also creates a more immersive and emotionally resonant experience for the audience. In the case of Guts, his journey is a symbol of the resilience of the human spirit, showing the true transformative power of struggle and adversity. While creating character development, these battles can often cause moral and ethical dilemmas as a side effect, challenging both characters and viewers to engage with difficult questions about justice, violence, and the value of life. Characters are often faced with choices that test their values and beliefs, whether it's to kill an enemy, show mercy, or even sacrifice themselves for a greater cause. The Hunter x Hunter series, specifically the Chimera Ant arc, exemplifies this to perfection. During this arc, we're given the absolute beauty of a fight between the king of the Chimera Ants, Meruem, and humanity's last hope, Netero. This fight goes deep into the moral complexities of the brutal conflict between humans and the ants of this world, raising questions about the nature of humanity, morality, and the cost of empathy on oneself. While going into the fight, it's very clear who is morally in the right, with Netero planning to kill Meruem in order to save humanity from being slaughtered and turning them into essentially just a food source for the ants. Meruem, realizing this, then explains his ideals upfront to Netero as such. Are you fighting me for all of humanity? If so, then you should know that my actions are entirely for their benefit. For example, in human society, lands are split by borders, marking their territory. On the right side of the border, children may starve to death, while on the left, idle dregs who do nothing have everything they need. It's absolute madness. I shall crush that madness and create a fair world where the concept of inequality will be completely forgotten for all time. I don't deny that I'll start by using power and terror to accomplish my objectives, but only when absolutely necessary, and only to bring about order. You see, I have learned what true power is meant to be used for. To protect the weak, who deserve to live. That is its purpose. Power shouldn't be used to torment the defeated. And at this point, Netero was really conflicted, and he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do here. Coming into this fight, he expected Meruem to be a vile monster that wanted nothing but genocide. But quickly realizing that even if he can see Meruem's reasoning, even with Meruem wanting to speak diplomatically, without violence, he came there to do one thing: kill the Ant King. In turn, by our own standards, flipping the dynamic between them, with Meruem being the one who wants peace and equality, to Netero whose only thought is how to kill the creature who stands before him. Now, while yes, fights are deep in terms of being a god-tier storytelling device, a good way to end your story and provide emotional and mental growth, all that aside, the most underrated thing in my opinion about fighting is that it can be an endlessly diverse way to entertain audiences. You are literally never going to get the same fight twice, with all different powers, fighting styles, weapons, strategies, and mindsets. It's basically the ultimate chess game between characters who have to always try to one-up their opponent in order to win. This idea of diversity of fights between characters is epitomized by characters like Bakugo from My Hero Academia, whose battles are vastly different, but equally entertaining due to his blend of powers, fighting styles, strategies, and psychological tactics. While Bakugo's quirk allows him to create blasts from the sweat of his palms, which he can control with absolute precision. From powerful long-range explosions to rapid maneuvers that provide insane agility and unpredictability in battle. If we compare his battles between Midoriya and Kirishima, it's very easy to tell how much of a battle genius this guy really is. Now, in the beginning of the fight, Midoriya's ability to keep up with Bakugo's speed and aggression actually surprises Bakugo. He then quickly realizes that raw power alone will not get him the victory. But Midoriya at first, only being able to barely dodge, goes to his max output at the time, which at first catches Bakugo off guard, being able to keep up with his aggressive tactics and even landing some hits in. But then Bakugo quickly adapts and realizes they're pretty much equal in speed. So in doing so, forces Midoriya into combat in the air, where he is way more experienced and is much more skilled. Midoriya, realizing this, goes in with a planned attack. Eventually, Bakugo reads this, and it leads to him exploiting his superior aerial combat skills to gain the upper hand. This shift shows Bakugo's ability to read the battlefield and adjust his tactics in real time, demonstrating his godly battle IQ. Now, unlike his fights with Midoriya, Bakugo's fights with Kirishima is a more patient and calculated approach. Initially caught off guard by Kirishima's aggressive punches and hardened defenses, Bakugo quickly assesses the situation and realizes that Kirishima's quirk cannot be sustained indefinitely at maximum strength, so it must have a limit. Recognizing this, Bakugo quickly uses defensive strategy, allowing Kirishima to expend his energy and gradually weaken his quirk's effectiveness. Once Kirishima's hardening begins to get weaker, Bakugo seizes the opportunity to go on the offensive, and then he unleashes a barrage of explosive attacks, completely overwhelming Kirishima and securing the quick victory. This battle highlights Bakugo's ability to analyze and exploit his opponent's weaknesses, as well as his willingness to adapt his fighting style based on the situation at hand. It's the same character, but both fights are completely different. His patience and battle IQ are actually so underrated. Honestly, it's little fights like these that are sprinkled throughout shows that, to me, are the most entertaining to watch. Like, if you look throughout all sorts of anime, you can find crazy diversity in fights, like Fairy Tail or Attack on Titan, and literally pretty much every single fight in Bleach is completely different. Anime fights are often pivotal elements in storytelling, beautifully crafted art forms to advance the plot and highlight themes. Unlike random or meaningless scraps, these battles are more often than not filled with symbolic significance. They can embody the clash of ideologies, like the tension between good and evil, freedom and oppression, or even order and chaos, turning physical fights into deep commentaries on societal or existential issues. While the visual art of anime battle absolutely hooks audiences, their true value lies in their ability to portray the anime's lesson and help us grow as an individual, providing a deeper understanding of the characters and the world they inhabit. Through these endless diverse conflicts, anime elevates the concept of combat into a meaningful exploration of the human experience, ethics, and personal transformation. Thank you so much for watching this video. Of course, if you like the videos and want more, go ahead and, keep watching. Did all this fighting get you excited? Go here. Check out the video we did about an anime where all the fights are legitimately on site. It's so peak. It's so peak. I love you guys. All right, stay locked in. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.